Welcome, Rob McCool here, also known as Ron McCoy, and I've been inspired to write a letter, and there are 4 quotes that have inspired me, and I'm going to share the first one with you right now. A true leader doesn't create separation. A true leader brings people together. At the advanced age of 64, I have worked for a multitude of leaders, some of them exceptional, some of them not so wonderful. I first started working when I was 16. I was a camp counselor at a place called Ernest Shepherd Memorial Youth Center, only for 1 week. The following summer, and for 8 summers after that, I worked at Worlds of Fun, working my way up from the lowliest of the low all the way up to supervisor, which is the highest rank one can achieve when one is seasonal. I also worked for a short time at McDonald's. I was a teacher for 40 years. I had a multitude of principals, and currently I work for Ross Stores, and I have a multitude of managers there with whom I get to associate. And I'm going to share with you an open letter that I have written to my last principal at Freedom Maples Elementary School. This is the principal who caused me to resign because I didn't believe in what she was doing. And of all the leaders that I have ever worked with, she is the worst one. And that open letter is coming, so stay tuned. Yes, that open letter is coming, but here comes another quote, this from Dr. Brad Johnson. It helps set the stage for the open letter. If you want to retain top talent, the question to ask isn't, how do I keep employees from leaving? Instead ask, how do I become the kind of leader they never want to leave? So, with that in mind, here comes the open letter that I have written to my last principal, Judy Hickenlooper, at Freedom Maples Elementary School. Dear Judy Hickenlooper, in case you are wondering, I am doing phenomenally since my departure from Freedom Maples Elementary School. It has been almost 6 months since I resigned from my position as a 5th grade teacher. And while I still feel terrible about leaving my class of 5th graders after only 4 weeks, I have no regrets about the stand I took in the face of your horrific treatment of me. As an aside, I'm told that my former students are now allowed to take their cell phones out of their book bags, take them back to their desks so that they can use them to listen to music and take a break during the day using their cell phones. I'm also told that this is more in line with the new philosophy now at Freedom Maples. In other words, pander to students and do anything just to keep them happy. Boy, sounds like I don't fit into that scheme of things anymore. Since leaving teaching, I have segued into the world of retail, working as a sales associate at the Ross store in Liberty. This new career has given me much insight into what true leadership involves, and has helped me to reaffirm in my mind that I am not the incompetent imbecile that you thought I was. Using my experiences with my managers at Ross as a guide, I have some suggestions for how to improve your ability to lead people. So, at this point you might be thinking, oh, that Rob McCool is comparing apples and oranges. Being the leader of a school is different from being the leader of a retail store. I will be focusing, albeit briefly, on leadership qualities. Right now, the letter is going to continue, and I'm focusing on Judy Hickenlooper's leadership first. First and foremost, please, 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 please return to the classroom and actually teach in that classroom for an entire day and entire week. When I made that suggestion to you last May, I know that it was not a welcome one, especially coming from me, but it is sorely needed. It is now almost 24 years since you were a teacher. This after having only been a teacher for 5 years, all spent in one grade level. Things have changed in teaching. They have changed dramatically. And you have no understanding of what today's teachers are facing in a classroom. Specifically, you do not understand that students need consequences, tangible, real consequences. And no, conscious discipline has no consequences. Sending a student to the care room, also known as the fun room, where students are given clay and candy and the teacher is eyed with suspicion, is not a consequence. In contrast, my managers at Ross have not lost sight of what it is like to work in the stockroom, replenish shelves, run a cash register, do markdowns, because they do all of these things right along with the employees of the store. Clarification: when I write teachers are eyed with suspicion, teachers who send students to the care room are judged. And even though administration claims they don't, they do. And social worker Darla Do Nothing is one of the worst. If a teacher holds a student accountable, Darla Do Nothing sides with the student. And the teacher has very little say in how that student is to be disciplined. Not only that, but administration believes whatever Darla Do Nothing or any of the special education teachers say. Classroom teachers are regarded as having very little credibility in the matter. Also, at Ross, the managers are direct. You can't be overly sensitive. They give you feedback in the moment. And unfortunately, I fear that at Freedom Maples and other schools, students are being coddled so much, I don't know how they are ever going to survive in the work world because they have no consequences. More of the letter. Your approach to leadership is failing your staff at Freedom Maples. Time and again, the 5th grade team has approached you about how discipline issues can be resolved. And time and again, you have told them what they cannot do, never giving any suggestions about what they can do, primarily because you don't know what to do, because it has been too long since you were a classroom teacher. By the way, one of my teammates wrote 2 letters to the school board detailing your inability to meet the needs of students with discipline issues. Apparently, it did no good. For 3 years, our principal was a woman named Storm Trooper, a woman whom you considered a friend and whom you welcomed wholeheartedly when she was appointed to Freedom Maples. Unfortunately, the issue of discipline resulted in Storm Trooper's undoing. She too had no solutions for how to resolve the ever-increasing problems surrounding student discipline, causing her frustration. And unfortunately, she took out this frustration on some staff members and entire classes of students at Freedom Maples. Yes, Storm Trooper would storm into classrooms, yell and berate entire classrooms of students, even though only 2 or 3 of those students may have been having issues out in the hall or maybe in that classroom. She would also berate the teachers of Freedom Maples over the intercom if snafus were made about sending students to the bus or getting them into the car rider line, that kind of thing. It was all about berating and making staff members feel as insignificant as possible. Specifically, a new 4th grade teacher was hired because of her touted ability to build relationships with students. However, her class was stacked with a who's who of behavior problems, and her class literally erupted daily as a result of the volatile personalities contained within it. And because no consequences were ever allowed for those students who were the most disruptive. Stormtrooper then blamed this new teacher, for the problems. Stormtrooper's son was a student during her tenure as principal, and he was assigned to a first grade teacher, a very talented, innovative, hard-working first grade teacher. Stormtrooper's son, however, reported to her that first grade was not as much fun as kindergarten was. As a result, this first grade teacher was criticized, demeaned, and humiliated, even after Stormtrooper's son moved on to second grade. Ultimately, this first grade teacher transferred to get away from Stormtrooper. Stormtrooper treated another fourth grade teacher, a veteran of the classroom, well into her 60s, who taught in what might be termed a traditional way. It est, or i.e., students were expected to actually pay attention in class, learn content, do homework, etc. A parent of one of this fourth grade teacher's students complained that her son didn't feel safe in class, resulting in Stormtrooper removing this boy from this teacher's classroom. When the teacher asked Stormtrooper why this was happening, Stormtrooper refused to tell her, saying she didn't have time to talk about it. About 10 years ago, a special education teacher at Freedom Maples was vilified by the principal, at that time a woman named Deidre Slasher. This special education teacher was also truly talented and caring, and was unjustly accused of not doing something or another, and she departed the school as the result of her treatment. My question has always been this: how could you, Judy Hickenlooper, stand by without standing up to Stormtrooper or Deidre Slasher or any of the other atrocious principals we've had, or never doing or saying anything to support these teachers? This is the kind of thing that we're having problems with. I'm not anymore, but the kinds of problems that they are having in Freedom Public Schools. And now more of the open letter. There is also the problem of how you regard the parents of the students who attend Freedom Maples. The best word I can think of to describe how you treat them is with contempt, causing them to feel marginalized. The root of this problem lies in your inherent inability to communicate with them or anyone else. Less than a week ago, I spoke with the parents of a student in my former class, who is still a fifth grader at Freedom Maples. They informed me that they have met with you and that they lauded my communication with parents, and that you told them that it is not appropriate for a teacher to communicate with parents as much as Mr. McCool did. Oh, is this a case of your envying my ability to communicate? They also said that you blamed me for their daughter's behavioral problems, this even though she was only my student for 4 weeks. Their frustration with you is playing out like so many have in the past. They feel that you don't respect their feelings and that your way is the only way, and that they are not being heard by you. Consequently, they are seeking a resolution by meeting with district superintendents to resolve the issues. Interestingly, their feelings about you parallel my feelings about you. Plain and simple, you didn't respect my feelings or me. It was always your way or the highway. Since leaving Freedom Maples in September, I've heard from so many teachers who have axes to grind, some with you, some with other principals. Judy, your job as principal is not to micromanage, mainly because you do not have a grasp of what it takes to be a successful teacher. Your job is to encourage teachers, to cheer for teachers, to compliment teachers, to show respect for teachers, and to understand that teachers who make thousands of decisions every day are not perfect. Our first principal at Freedom Maples was wise in that he understood just how formidable it was to march into the classroom every day and face the myriad challenges, not because he had ever been a classroom teacher, but because he was not so full of himself that he was able to see teachers as human beings who are truly doing the best job they can, each and every day. Judy Hickenlooper, we endured over 19 years together at Freedom Maples, and even at the end of our association, you stated, I care about you, Rob. However, actions speak louder than words. We did have a few good times. Unfortunately, the bad times far outshone any of those good times. Nevertheless, I look forward to seeing you again one day. Yes, the best is yet to come. Well, if nothing else, that was cathartic. Please stay tuned. I have 2 more quotations to share with you and some parting words. Hopefully, you love this video so much that you are in a hurry to like, subscribe, and click on the bell so that you get notification each time I upload a new video. And now back to Rob McCool's Mid-60s Misadventures. Teaching seems to be the only profession where adults aren't always treated like adults, like not being trusted to make decisions or micromanaged. I love leaders who value teachers' expertise and judgment. Empowering teachers shouldn't be the exception. It should be the standard. Boy, I wish I worked for Dr. Brad Johnson. He truly is a great leader. And one more quotation. When we focus on weaknesses, we create fear. When we focus on strengths, we create confidence. One day, I will run into Judy Hickenlooper and we will be able to discuss what happened back in September of 2024. In the meantime, be sure to tune in my next edition. And as I said at the end of the letter, yes, the best is yet to come. Ride right along with me as we continue Rob McCool's Mid-60s Misadventures.